to make groups and play like more in real world. So we are thinking about making an MMO app. Yeah, and the target audience is boys and girls under 20 years old.
So I conflict.
So yeah, the mechanics will be like there will be. Actually, I think we can show the mockup. No. Yeah, okay. I think I'll unplug it now. Try to run it and then plug it again.
Internet is down.
Maybe you can have a plug or you connect to the internet on the wire. Do you have a wire?
Yeah, I have a wire, but I see. Oh, there it is. I have a cable. Have interactive mockup. So there will be a story that will be developed during the time left until the Youth Olympics. So we are planning to run this game like a couple months before the Youth Olympics, and it will be like a mystery. So the people who play this game, they won't know what's like the whole story about this game. So it will start. It's like a basic mockup, of course.
This is just the main functionality, like the most important parts of the application.
So the player will be introduced to this story. Maybe there will be some video and something like that, and he will be able to do some quests. There will be a quest, like a main storyline. The main quests we decided on is like a map. Unfortunately, I couldn't put a map in that. But where you have to go to one specific location in your neighborhood, and you can collect points from that location. For example, I don't know, maybe it will be like randomly placed points all around the location, the area in the map. Or actually, we were thinking about making something like an augmented reality thing. So you have to find something with your camera. But like basic idea was to put some points in an area. There will be like a menu where you have a profile with the amount of points you've collected and basic information. And also, we are thinking in implementing an ability to make groups and make group quests where you can gain more points, or some like combo or something. So yes, and a part of the game will be with like a Wikipedia about the Youth Olympics and Olympic Games in general. And we're thinking about side quests where you will have some polls or quizzes where you can answer the question about the history of the Olympics and all the stuff about maybe athletes.
Since this is an ARG, there will also be like a social media element to the thing. The characters have Twitter accounts or Facebook accounts, and they will post stuff. And there will also be puzzles and stuff that the people will need to solve, maybe to get access to certain points or get access to more parts of the story. It's important that the main storyline is quite easy, but there can be side quests that are much harder or difficult to solve, and they might give this kind of advantage if you want to solve one of the harder main storyline mysteries. Certainly.
So basically that's it. Yeah. And for the next spring, we're thinking about building a skeleton of the app and implement the main functionality and create like a mock-up.
That's basically the mock-up that we just showed is kind of the core part, the most important part that we need to implement before we can start building upon it. So that's what we're going to focus on during this sprint, trying to build that mock-up we just showed.
So basically that's it.
Yep. So how you guys work? How you organize your sprints?
He's the Scrum Master. And we're going to meet at least once a week, probably,
Maybe
and talk about giving classes and stuff like that.
we'll have
And what tools do you use?
Java, like Android.
That's on the technology side, but for your group work.
Alright, we are kind of undecided. We're using Bitbucket as a repository, at least, for like organizing Scrum and stuff and such.
Maybe Jira or
So you haven't decided yet, or?
No, we're going to talk about it next Scrum meeting.
So on the technology side, what do you think you will have to implement for this idea to work?
Yeah, obviously something like Google Maps API to. We're thinking about it will look a bit creepy. With the Google Maps
as well.
Yeah, in the Google Maps, like the Google Maps in the app where you can put locations. Yeah, so we were thinking about making something like in this Ingress game, but I think
that's not really on the top of the priority list. Make it that quite pretty, but
yeah.
And then we will probably also need some sort of server so we can push changes to the game to the players' apps.
Yeah, I think it's for the beginning because we were discussing like making a P2P network. You showed us.
So
Maybe it's will be more interesting.
So also, have you thought about the authoring, like how the content for the game is being put into the game? Like who is managing those locations and how they are?
we're thinking since it's an ARG, we need puppet masters kind of to drive the game forward. So we'll need some sort of management tool to be able to put new points in the game or push new story elements.
So that's quite a lot already. So you've listed quite a lot of elements that would need to be there. So how you're prioritizing it, like what you will do,
The first
what
part
the minimum things
the
you want
minimal
to have.
viable product plan is to get the geocaching part in and the management part, so you can create so you can at least very least create a small story path that you can follow by finding these points and whatever. And hopefully we'll finish that before the end of this course, and we'll be able to build upon this. That's the plan for the next sprint at the very least, to have that functionality.
So you identify that this kind of a geocaching and me going into locations and picking something up. That is the
Because we need to get
mechanic.
the users into the mindset that they need to get out of their house.
Yeah.
To be able for the story to culminate at the Youth Olympics, so people will feel I want to go there to finish the story, know how the history unfolds. So it's important to get people into the mindset that they need to get out of their houses and stuff like that. So,
It's a pity that they didn't choose this for the digital innovation, because I think this is a project that really has some interesting challenges and some interesting questions that is outside the scope of this project.
That's right.
We
And
didn't
you can
really,
explain it in one sentence, which is a big thing.
we didn't really get the idea before after the digital in entrepreneurship.
But you know, this is something that you really see from innovation work, is that one idea triggers another one, triggers another one, triggers another one. So that's good. But anyway, so if you stick with this, I have a couple of questions, and my first question is, what is the objective? I mean, the objective is, as you were saying, is to motivate kids for participating as audience. Now, here you may interpret participant. So you could say that what is the objective is to get more kids to come to the games, or you get more kids to be more active in what happens during the games, or you want the kids to be more aware of the Olympic Charter. I mean, what do you mean by more involved? So I think that's worth looking at, and worth looking at saying what is really the objective. Maybe you want them to be more engaged into the activities with the hope that they are more physical active and they want to try some of these sports, or maybe you want them to know more about the philosophy of fair competition. I mean, what is really what and if you say it's all, then it's probably not a good idea. Then it's kind of washed out. So I'm not saying there's one correct answer to it, but I think you will have a much better job in making a good app if you are aware of which of these objectives you want to have. Just more kids? Well, that's one thing. Do you want the kids to be more engaged in the actual games? Because then maybe the prizes is that if you, I mean, you may have some small prizes here and there. If you find a prize, then you get to enter for free into one of the activities, or you're upgraded, or I mean, you could so that will motivate not just to come there, but also to be involved in the activities and get closer to that leads, or somehow get to that leads. Don't want that, but that's another story. but I mean, what do you want to, or do you want them to learn more about the Olympic Charter and the fairness of competition and all of that? So that's one thing I think you should do next time, to try to work out that idea and refine that idea. The other question is, what you say, youth up to 20.
Yeah.
Are you going to cover all? Are you going to have a smaller segment? Are you going to have several segments and you just start by looking at one? Because, I mean, and 13 to 20, the interest and the type of what motivates them might be quite different.
Yeah, we were thinking about it. I think it will be like under 15, because people who are above 15 years old, they won't play something like that. So yeah, basically it's like an age group of children who attend the Olympics, like athletes, and maybe like a growing up kids who maybe will attend further.
And you know what, Marge, I would say is that it's better that you choose one group, a pretty accurate one, and make it work for that group, and then we can extend it to other groups and say, okay, it doesn't mean that you can play if you're 20, but our main group,
Yeah.
target group is here, and younger might find it interesting, older might find it interesting, but we are optimizing for this group. And even though you could say if you had a bigger team and a lot more time, you could say, okay, now we can make a game so that it adapts. So you have some activities that are more appropriate for the younger ones and that are more appropriate for the older ones. But for now, I think it's better to just choose one and say this is kind of, but a little bit more younger than 20. That's a broad.
Yeah, I can see
think.
that. Yeah.
And I know that we all have that feeling that okay, if we say 13 to 15, we feel that oh, why are we so excluding? Why couldn't we extend it? But I think it's much better to say this is our target, meaning that it should be optimal for this group.
Okay.
And then other may find it interesting to play, but we are not trying to specifically optimize it for their interests and skills and everything.
Okay.
My last comment is it's when developing this, it's good to develop it in close relation to a domain expert. So who will the domain expert be here? So that's maybe the organizing committee, maybe maybe I mean maybe Lillehammer and other processes you have education programs that goes into sports management. Maybe you need to find somebody interested in sports management or sports media. I mean, find some domain experts who has an expert either in the Olympics itself or in general, in competitions and sports in general, on management of them, or in the media aspect of covering sports events and marketing and getting people to sign up. So you should find one group and try to get close to, because developing this close to the to some domain experts is a good idea. It will help you a little bit. In the end, you may need to, or you will need to test it on real users as well. But to talk to the domain experts, you will simplify and speed up that process a little bit.
Okay. Thank you.
And I would also split the technologies into sort of modules, which you can rearrange depending on the final setup for the game. So once you talk with the people who are managing the Youth Olympics, or as Rune said, the sports center or whatever, then you will get a better idea of what the game should feel like and what the story behind it should be like. But it's a little bit independent of the technologies which you could use.
Yeah.
So treat the technologies more like Lego bricks, like building blocks, which you can reassemble and have slightly different scenarios played out. So some of the things with the geocaching and with the placing things in the space are kind of the same on the technology side. Then you can wrap it up with a particular story or particular thing, depending on what you eventually decide to do in the context of the game.
Yeah.
But you could start prototyping things already with some simple scenarios of, finding some spots and like with Ingress, like conquering some monuments or whatever. So you could try to do that, to sort of separate technologies, building blocks a little bit from the context of the game itself. Yeah. And I quite like the augmented reality part as well, because that kind of gives you a little bit of a nice building block which you could reuse for things. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for the actual story and for the actual game, I think you should talk with some stakeholders, because that might kind of give you more ideas.
But in terms of timing, I think clarifying what the objective is first before you start talking to the domain experts will help you clarify that discussion as well.
Yeah.
We were thinking splitting the game in two parts. Like the first part will end with the beginning of the Olympics. So when everybody who plays will just come to the Olympics, and then make a bunch of activities during the games where you can gain points and win something. And like we're talking about, for example, attending in the jury
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, judging somebody or doing something in there. So,
Yeah, but it's, I think that's perfect. But I think it's still good to think about that red line, that thing,
That joins everything.
yeah. Okay, what is the overall idea that everything is a piece of? So I think that is, and again, the Olympics is a sports event, but it also has this charter and these higher level ideas that it's trying to fulfill. That if you or you need to decide whether you're going to be Olympics specific, Olympics events specific, more specific, or if it's general sports or general events. You could kind of be all over there and just say, okay, this event is just an example of any event. It doesn't have to be sports, any event. Or you want it to be sports, or you want it to be Olympics. So you have a number of decision points, and you can leave them. You don't have to answer them, but I think if you answer them, you are a much better chance of being able to hit target.
Thank you.
So, one group left. Someone has to be last. I'm keeping records though, so you're not going to be the last next time.
Okay.
You know that.
Yeah, okay. So we're using Jira to manage our tasks, we have to do in each sprint. So we started one sprint, we call it sprint 0 because it was just like a baseline, and we had to think of the idea and do most of the work in the idea part. So yeah, but we for the next sprint we're going to work on Unity, create the main functionality of the game in Unity, and we're also going to add a web administrator page, but I don't know if that will be maybe in the last sprint. So yeah. Yeah, and in Unity we have started with our card game, so we have, I can't show you the demo because we need a phone and we don't have it today. But we have swipe movements on the card, so you can swipe the card to the left or right, and then the code detects which way you swiped and does something with the card and later with the words. So yeah, so just started with this, and our main functionality is this picture and with the swipe cards and get the words on each card. So we will soon start to create our word database and connect that with the game to get each word right, and then the scores, and build the game wider after this main functionality is done.
I don't know, we could probably mention that we consider using the medical students for testing.
Okay.
Because they're close.
Yeah, it is for us to get hold of some teacher and talk to them and get attention of the class for testing. And also they have a lot of courses that are built on remembering or learning words, so you can do that. Yeah. And we're using Bitbucket so everybody has the code on each computer. But we're trying to work as much as we can in groups. So, like in the same room, so we can have the constant talk, but we can also, like you said, create branches and try to work on different things in each branch. Yeah.
So have you identified who you would like to talk with already, like from the medical school?
We sort of came up with the idea, but recently, so we haven't
We haven't talked with someone yet. No. But I think somewhere in the first or second year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And what sort of material will you use for the game, like the vocabulary? Have you?
We will probably ask the teacher about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Since
Use one course and just focus on that course and create a word database for that course so we can test it on these people.
Yeah.
And we're also going to do the multiplayer thing, so all the players of this game that is playing together can play on their own device.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we haven't gotten that far yet, but we'll get there.
So you will use Unity and some sort of plugins for getting the multiplayer functionality going.
Yeah.
And you targeting Android or iPhone?
Yeah,
at the moment?
Android.
Android.
Yeah.
And you need a device, or you have a device.
We have a device,
We
but
have a device,
I didn't
we
bring it
just
today.
Okay.
I forgot it.
A follow-up when it comes to domain experts. One is there might be overlapping though, but one would be the actual teachers that have a subject in mind and some activities in mind. But the other would be experts on teaching science or learning science. So Lillehammer is a professor in Nordkveld. He's a professor in media pedagogics, something like that. He's been working on using videos and all this media and not necessarily games. I haven't been working on recently, so I don't know so much about games, but using digital storytelling and using computers in education setting. Because you know me, I will still challenge you on the bit of not just do the simple game with questions, but push it further in terms of functionality, and talking to someone with domain expertise in organizing learning activities, in pedagogics, and especially using media in its setting. And Imre Nordkveld, he is, you should try to talk to him.
how do you write his last name?
Nordkvell. I can send you the reference or name as well.
Yeah.
But talk to Yngve. He's been working in this and he's been working on computer literacy among kids and other things, digital storytelling. And I think you could find and you present the idea and talk about how this could be organized, because you need to put it into an organized setting. And of course, one would be the actual teacher. That's one. But also these guys who are thinking more general about how to teach and how to organize activities. It's a good idea. And I also think that you should go back to the learning styles presentation I had and think about learning styles. I mean, one would be the Quark, the simple model, but also the Honey Mumford model, and think about how could this fit into a learning style model. Are you what activities are you focusing on, and how do you present this? Is it just for the read and write, or is it also visual? Is it audio? So try to think about a little bit, not with the purpose of optimizing for one style, but trying to make sure that you aren't excluding students with a certain style from benefiting and from using this. So I would suggest not just think about the game aspects, but also educational game, and then you really need to think about how can we align this very well with some learning activities and some of the issues that teachers are, and the teachers, they can help you in explaining what they do, but then the more learning science professors, they can have a more overall picture on alternative methodologies and things. So that would be my recommendations. Yeah, that's I don't know why, but you got the shortest list of questions for feedback.
because we got feedback from the others as well. So.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's so I'm kind of sorry that a few didn't show up and more left as well. So you have busy times, but I think it's quite valuable. I was hoping at least that this feedback round is valuable to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though you get different feedback, you will all find that most of these are kind of relevant. To tweak a little bit to find that okay, there's something here that can apply to me or our project as well.
Mm-hmm.
If we could have a break, but I don't think unless you have some very big questions, plan some very big questions to raise during the question and answer session. Then I think we can just continue for 15-20 minutes and then we just break it for the day. So it's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
So to summarize, I am as a Norwegian and we are very good at pointing out the weaknesses, but we never tell you anything about what's good. And even though you know, it's very frustrating never to hear anything, oh, just all the things that can be improved and the things that you have to be careful about and all that. But in general, I'm quite impressed. I think you've done a good job, all of you. You have come quite far. And if you think back, I mean, the best way to measure progress is to look back and see what we did in the future. So if you remember the first sprint in the applied computer science project, I mean, things have changed. And you are much more into your areas. And yeah, we talked about there could still be more in depth and understanding, but there are two things that are to me are important in this project. And number one is to really understand the problem, and number two is to understand what has been done about it. And I think all of you have been able to really get a good grasp on both, which is important. And now this project is very much about then integrating all the technologies that would help you actually develop something. But that is next step, and what we were hoping for now was that you had a very good and a clear understanding of what you wanted to do, and you had gotten some feedback. And I think you are, given that this is going to be a step-up process in which you have had all these other courses, all these theory courses, all these other activities running at the same time, so you haven't had much time to do this, and you've come this far. So I think you have a very, very good starting point for the two next sprints where you have more time and you know what to do and you know you have a lot of work to do, but that's fine because as long as you know what to do and you know you're going to have more time, then doing it is good. So I'm quite happy, and that goes to all groups. I'm quite happy to see how far you've come, and I think that you will have you will reach very good status by the end of the next two sprints. So that was number one. Number two, we partly covered it already, but my recommendation is still that you seek advice from whoever you think may have something to help you with. And if they tell you something different from your supervisors or some of your other experts, that's fine, that's good. Because I'm saying there are usually two problems or two things that may be the cause of you hearing that two are contradicting each other. One is that you haven't really understood either of them. That's often the case. That you hear two talking about a problem from their perspective, they use different words and they emphasize different aspects of the problem. It may seem like they're talking about two very different things, but if you try to understand each one of them, then you may see that they aren't so far away from each other. And if they are truly disagreeing, that's also good, because if you just listen to one of them, and that one, if you think about the master thesis, if that one doesn't, if the examiner doesn't agree with that one, it's your problem. So unfortunately, that's where we are. You can't assume that each one of us, will give you only good advices. I mean, we have certain preferences, biases that aren't shared by everyone else. So I think that's good. So try to seek advice both within this college. So if you know that someone here are experts on something that you may do, so even if Mariusz and Simon and I, we have been assigned to certain groups, doesn't mean that you can come and talk to me if you think I have something to contribute, or other groups might talk to Mariusz or Simon. So use the resources in here, but also think about external resources. Who could be domain experts that can help you? Now this is good for this project, but it's also good in general. I mean, you're going to be out there in the year or so and working and solving problems, and why not try to benefit from a network, whoever you know, and that can have an idea. What you have to think about eventually, though, is that this is a kind of its own economy. So if you get a lot from your network, you have to contribute a lot into the network, because otherwise you're going to be shut out of the network. But that's a different different discussion. Mariusz, do you have any overall comments?
Yeah, so I also like to say that I'm quite impressed how far you guys got to. I quite like the thinking process of how you went through very general kind of idea to more narrowly focused kind of a distilled ideas, and you focused your thinking and you're working on something which could be identified as MVP. That you're kind of trying things out. That's a lot of work that you've already done, right? It may feel like you haven't really actually done anything, but that is a process that you have had to go through, and you successfully did that. Yeah, I agree with Rune. You should ask anybody that seem knowledgeable about any problems you might have. Get as much different opinions as possible. But at the end of the day, you calling the shots. You are in charge, and you deciding what to do and what not to do and how to do things. So use all the information that you can to make your own, informed decisions.
If I may add there, so keep in mind, as we talked about in the previous project, keep in mind that this project is for you to learn. It's not that we gonna be, I mean, it's a pass and fail, but it's not that we're gonna be just looking at the results. We are looking at what you learn, the learning results.
Is this pass and fail as well?
This is also pass and fail. Yes, it is.
Doesn't it say it's
I thought there was
Is it ATF?
Yeah, so then A or F then.
No.
That's what.
So
Why
I'm
are you
not-
laughing?
so
A
I'm not-
teacher here does that.
So I'm not in line with-
Fucking idiot though.
So I'm
but,
not
yeah.
in line with myself then. I'm sorry. I need to read up the course description. Yeah, okay. But whatever. Great. We'll agree on that before we come there. But in the grading, what matters is whether you learned what was explained and expected in an outcome. We don't say that you are to make this great, whatever, with these great technologies. No, there are things you're going to learn. So what we're going to be measuring, what we're going to be looking at, is what you learn. So as some of you in the Applied Computer Science project learned that if the Scrum Master didn't also take on the project lead role, things ended up being quite messy. Some did take the lead role and some did not. The two groups of students, those who took the lead, the Scrum Master took the role being the project lead, and those who didn't. I mean, the important thing is that both learned that, well, the Scrum Master doesn't necessarily work very well in all settings, because sometimes you need somebody with a little bit more authority. And those who did design it, they realized that we need it. Those who didn't, they will definitely see in the end that they will need that. But in any case, the important thing is that you learn and you can reflect on it. And the same here. So what is important is not whether you do get this great system in the end and do get everything as you planned, so and you get the basis for your master thesis. That's not the important thing. The important thing is what you learn from this process and how we work, and that's that is should always be in focus.
And try things out also. So if you have something interesting that you want to explore or try out, just try it out, right? So as Runa said, we're not looking here at the final product at the end. We're looking at you getting more under your kind of workshop, under your tool belt. So the more things you try out and learn about, that's good.
Although the final product will matter in the sense that there are some learning outcomes that go to being able to choose and being able to use technologies. So if the final outcome is trivial in terms of using technologies and you haven't tested any technology, of course it will matter.
Yeah.
But it's not the product per se, but it is how you dealt with the problems and what you learned from
And how you apply the technology.
Yes. And if you in the end found that this is the wrong technology, you should use a different one.
That's right.
That's fine. That's what we learn, and that's what we can discuss, and then we can discuss why and could you have seen that earlier, and that's going to help you in the next project. So this is what we'll try to do. From each project, we learn something. Next time, we are a little bit better at doing this.
So it may turn out that you will find out limitations of Unity that prevent you achieving something, and you end up saying, well, next time we were doing it, we would use something else. We wouldn't use Unity, for example. That's fine.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the question-answer session, as I was writing in your email, I would like to have that question-answer session, and in the future, we didn't have too much time in this case, but in the future, I would like that you send us questions up front, so that especially the questions that we might need to prepare. If you want an intro to something, or we want us to cover some methodology or something that you feel would help you, then we may need to plan for that. So then we send the questions. So we didn't get any, but do you have any questions that came up during the day, or that you had but weren't large enough to bother sending them, or anything related to your project, to the organization, to whatever? It's the first time we run it, so this is there are flaws. There are flaws in the way we do this course. We're going to find, or you already know, and if you know, then you can better ask or tell us. Any questions? Anything you feel that you are on track and know what to do? And
Sure. Would it be better to ask the students to cooperate and then find their teacher, or ask their teacher for permission to use the students?
I think it might be easier to talk to the teachers. The reason for that is that you kind of need the teacher's involvement in the end. And if the teacher is eager in the first place, then it's easier to tell the students. The students may have a harder time convincing the teacher. He may say, okay, but he's not fully engaged in that. So I think it may be, but I don't know for sure. I don't know. If you have tight contacts, if you know some students already, then that might be a good idea. And just talk to them and ask them, do you have a teacher that you think would do like this, and would you like to do it? So it's not one excludes the other one. But my thinking is that talking to one that is crucial anyway, rather than talking to 20, to go up to one who may not be wanting to be there. So I think that is probably an easier route. But there might be several reasons that you might know a group, or you may have an easy way to communicate with them, or something that makes it easier to go that route. But if they are all, if you don't know anything specific, I would think that talking to the teachers first. Might be an idea even to read the course descriptions, so that this is also something that I will repeat in the fall, but I can do right away. Is if you want somebody's assistant, somebody to spend time with you, being the supervisors, being the externals, how can you do that? The best thing you can do is to surprise them positively. So rather than say, okay, on this project, you need to help me, how eager would they be at helping you? But if you come and say, I have this idea, and you're prepared, and you know their course, if you go to one of the professors, you know the course, and you have an idea, maybe it could fit in here, and they say, no, this doesn't work, but since you're showing interest, they will go further and disclose or share some of their ideas. And if you take those ideas, and you just not deliver back their ideas like a mirror next time, but you have refined your ideas, and you have found something else that is similar, and so that whenever they meet you, they feel that they learned something that they didn't know already. It's easy to see that if they invest 1 hour and they get kind of 3 hours amount of thinking back, it's sure they want to invest more. If they every time that they talk to you, they feel that they next time they meet, you get the same mirror, so it's basically wasted time because they already know that their own ideas. Then you don't get. Eventually, their interest is going to taper off. It happens with supervisors. We have a responsibility to supervise you, but how much involved we get into the supervision depends on how much we feel we get out of it. So if you feel that we pull you through, okay, we'll do that, but not with much enthusiasm. If you come with lots of ideas that triggers us and say, oh hey, and we get excited, and we contribute new ideas, and you build on those ideas, you don't steal them, but you build on top of them, then you get as good feedback, as good supervision as you want. So supervision is not just about you getting the good or bad supervisor. It's also about how you make sure that the supervisors get involved. So that's your sales job. That's your challenge. Okay, that was something else. For next sprint, what I mean, you have.
When is it?
It's
4 weeks.
yeah.
So it's after Easter.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
the 13th.
Immediately after.
week
Today we have
after
exam.
Easter.
We didn't have exam yet, I think.
The 13th? Did we have an exam on the 13th April?
No.
Serious games or the
Mobile?
Let me check.
We don't know yet.
But
supposed to be?
if that's a problem, we can just move this one. But right now it's set to the 13th.
Yeah.
But if there's a conflict, we just move this because this is not critical. I mean,
You're right. I believe that was planned
Yeah, we
to be
talked
the
about
mobile
it.
exams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will confirm it.
Right. Would you like to have this one after, obviously? How much time? Few days or a whole week or
Can we just have it the day after?
the day after?
Yeah.
Does it matter?
Okay. So as long as we can avoid that day conflict, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Then we'll verify and we'll try to change the timing for this one.
Well, I don't know. The game was that supposed to be like 3 days after or something.
The game might be 20th, 17th or 20th. Simon was suggesting.
Pushing back.
What's that?
Pushing back.
Back or pushing forward. We had a discussion on that.
But let us. That was that I should have done that before. Sorry, I missed on that. But let us think and suggest a new, more coordinated plan for you guys.
So there are two exams. There is the mobile and serious games exams. We're waiting for the confirmations from the externals, whether they can do those days. And the plan was to have both Mondays, the 13th and 20th, dedicated for the exams. That's the current plan, but it depends on the externals availability. Yeah.
I should have probably started saying this, but I'm sorry I failed in updating the frontal page. So if you look at the frontal page, it hasn't said that it's going to be updated in February, which it hasn't been until this morning. So now it's getting there. So eventually going to find. But it's I mean you see the overall structure there now, and I'm going to fill in a few of the other items as well. And I will update it when we find new dates. I will update it so that it's in line, and you will set up the folders for submitting the reports and everything. But looking at the next sprint, I think that besides the feedback you individually got, and as we were saying, some of you have listened to what feedback other groups have gotten and felt that some of that applies to you as well. Besides that, I think that what Mariusz has been raising for a couple of groups might be something worth looking at, and that is the integration project is very much focusing on technologies. What we've been looking at so far is the whatever service or whatever innovation or whatever product you want to deliver. But in the end, it's about technologies. You're looking at technologies, assessing technologies, choosing technologies, getting familiar with using technologies. So for those of you who haven't started digging down into the technology side, it is about time to start doing that, so that for the next sprint, you already have a little bit of that technical choices made, and you start to get experience with the technologies. It's quite natural, I think, in the flow of this project. But I'd like to emphasize it, since this is, if you look at the outcome of the course, it's very much about the technology choices. So don't, as we said, don't spend too much time on making this the perfect design, the perfect game, the perfect system. It's you can. This is the bad thing with all real-world projects, is that you have limited time. You need to spend a limited time in the best way, and limited time can never be used to give a perfect solution. You know that. I mean, you have seen our courses; they aren't perfect. The courses we offer are given within certain time constraints and resource constraints. So they aren't perfect, but that's, we believe, when we hope they are good enough. And that's also what we need to do in the products and the system you develop. You can't make it perfect. You can't have the perfect architecture, the perfect state-of-the-art game, and perfect for all users. You can if you had unlimited resources, which we never have. We have limited resources, and limited resources, we get things that aren't perfect. The thing is that we know what the imperfections are, and we can say why we chose these to be the imperfections that we can live with. Okay, sorry, I'm talking too much.
That's good.
Do you have any recommendations for next phase, next sprint for this jointly, besides what you've given individually?
Yeah, you all should have some demos, that's for sure. You should have tried some things and have things more concrete in 4 weeks' time.
And in this case, I think we, since combined with what I was just saying, that should not be a paper mock-up. That should be something
Actually
implemented, something
yeah.
developed.
Yeah.
I think so, because otherwise there's just one more sprint, and then there's not enough time for you. So
Yeah.
next time you need some, not all necessarily, but some technology components, and you develop on top of that.
And that gives you this sort of a time element. So if you know you only have 4 weeks, you have to decide what it's gonna be and what you will not do. You know, Facebook integration. It's probably not high on the priority.
Just to make that clear.
Yeah.
No, we can't. No jokes here.
No jokes.
Serious business.
Yeah.
Serious business.
This is serious business.
There is often a pitfall that there are things you could do which feels easy and you kind of tempted to do them, but they're not core to what you actually want to achieve. And you have to do harder things which are harder to do, and they don't give you immediate results as the easy part, but those are the right things that you need to do, right? So yes, doing login and doing Facebook integration might be kind of easy and trivial, and in a sense gives you something concrete in a week, but that's something, it's not that important at that point, and you kind of don't do those things. You focus on things that actually matter more. So you have to identify those things, which most of, you've done so far already. Yeah, try to organize your work. So try to use the tools, try to use the things you know from software engineering and from running projects to be more efficient and more effective, right? So don't treat those tools as a nuisance. Use the tools for your benefit. So use the backtracking software or issue trackers, use the communication software like wikis and so on to document your decisions. You will often notice that you go back to the same questions over and over again. And if you already made your mind, and if you already committed to some way of doing certain things, then keep it sort of persistent, that you don't need to discuss it again. You will discuss certain things again in the context of the discussions that you've already made. Just don't repeat the same discussions. Kind of build on top of what you know. So if you meet with Shula and you discuss certain things, reach a certain agreements, then you kind of build on top of that. Take notes and kind of document, points that's what we've agreed before. So you can revisit it, of course, but don't start from scratch. Start from what you've already achieved. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna let you go in just a couple of minutes. The fun thing I would like to say is that our address is this seminar as such. So it's always good to evaluate the time we spend here, or maybe somebody say waste here, but anyway. So what the format was, I mean, as I'm saying, this is the first time we run it, so we obviously not going to do it the optimal way. But any feedback to this way of organizing it? As I said, I'm going to ensure that the sequence is shuffled next time, so I'm going to be in control. You guys try to steal the show, and that's fine. That's
No,
that's
just because they have to go to work, both you
yeah,
and
that's not going to work next time.
No,
If they have to go to work, they have to make priorities. Yeah. But that's fine. Yeah. So other than that, is the format okay? Any feedback? Any suggestions how we can improve? I mean, we spend time here, so it's good that we try to spend it wisely. Should I talk less? I tend to be talkative.
Was it worthwhile to see the progress of other groups and kind of have a joint discussion with other groups? Yeah. That's the intention, but we all never know whether that works or not. Yeah.
The one thing that I don't think any of the groups mentioned that was on the agenda, and I didn't ask specifically for it because I don't think it's so important at this stage, and maybe not so important for this course, but it's still for you who are in a learning phase, it's a very good practice, and that is to summarize your retrospectives. None of you mentioned, Marius was asking a little bit about the tools and the process, but none of you were mentioning, do you sit down? I think you should. By the end, before preparing demo, you should sit down and say, hey, what worked in our group now? And if you do that regularly, it will help you in whatever project you are. It will help you always keep a small process up here that's just overseeing what happens and trying to make sure that you spend the resources in the best way. So, so next time, if I don't get retrospectives, just a short summary. This is what works, and this is what we see as we have having as a challenge. If I don't hear that, I would probably ask for it. Marius was hinting towards it here and there. We didn't drill down because I think it's now you have much to do and get started and all that. But from here on, where you get into the more, now you know what to do and you can split work. Now I think you need to keep that extra eye and sit down by the end and say, what can we learn? What can we do differently? What worked very well here? What should we keep doing? Because that's the way. It's the reflection part. That's the way to make sure that next time you do a project, there are certain things you will do differently when you start up to make sure that you get it your way. So I will be expecting that next time. I didn't push for it this time, but next time I will.
You will have enough iterations under your belt to have that done. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, thank you. Very well done. Very good work. And which means that we expect quite a lot through next time. Also, I didn't say that.